Now, your weekly dose of inspiration, perspiration, and just the right amount of bull defecation. The Get You Some Radio Show with your host, the Vice President of Making Shit Happen, Terry Lancaster.
Hey there. I've been in the advertising business since Reagan was president. 30 some odd years I've been writing copy, and I've been amazed my entire life, this entire time, when I hear an ad or I go to a website or I pick up a brochure and I read it, I watch it, I listen to it, and I get to the end, and I honestly have no idea what they just said. It's corporate business gobbledygook, and people go so far out of their way to sound important or to sound prestigious or to make what they do sound difficult that you can't even understand what they do. Today's guest is an expert at cutting through the gobbledygook. He helps business people and businesses to align who they are and what they do and who they do it for and express it precisely so that they know exactly what to say and so that people who are referring them know exactly what to say. In short, he provides clarity. He's one of the co-authors of the book Unstuck, 10 Proven Strategies for Breaking Through the Barriers to Small Business Growth, and he is the king of clarity. Steve Woodruff. Steve, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great, Terry. Glad to be here.
Welcome aboard the show. Now, how does one become the king of clarity? Is that a monarchy? Does it pass through the millennial, the matriarchal line or the patriarchal line? What is the king of clarity, and how'd you get to be one?
Well, it's actually by somebody else making the pronouncement because it's way too egotistical to do it yourself. So somebody last year on my Facebook timeline who noticed it was my birthday wrote this thing, and he said, and Steve Woodruff's birthday, and he's the king of clarity. And he knows my reputation for helping companies and individuals get clear. And I looked at that and I said, yeah, I'm a branding guy. I'm a marketing guy. I said, man, that's got some stones. I think I'll take that and I'll just run with it. Yeah. So I decided to just say, all right, I'm the king of clarity, because what I do is I help people in a very short time do exactly what you talked about, cut through all the stuff, provide an outside view, and make the message clear. So why not be the king? I mean, it's better than being the clown prince or something, right?
the jester.
Yep. So
we'll get in a minute. We'll get to the chase of how we cut through the gobbledygook and how we create clarity. But like I said, I've been amazed my entire life that there's so much bad communications and people have such trouble expressing the simple concept of what they do, and especially on a corporate level and in the business level. This just seems so difficult, or so many people can't do it. Why do people have trouble with this?
You know, it's a very common problem, and it's not that people are stupid. It's just that we have a bunch of information in our heads that we assume. So when we speak to other people, we tend to assume that they understand a lot of things that we understand, when in fact they don't. And so when we think we're communicating, when they don't have the frame of reference that we have, and therefore the words we use don't come across the right way. I had a graphic example of that earlier this week when I was talking with a training partner company. They've been in business for decades. And I said, Marjorie, tell me exactly who your customer primarily is by title. Give me the title. And so she told me who most of the business comes from. And I said, when I went on your website, you know what? I thought your customer was at this level. That was the impression I was getting, because the words you were using. The words they were using weren't inaccurate, but they really didn't spell it out clearly. And I'm not a stupid guy. I've been in that field for a long time. I went on that website and I walked away with a completely incorrect assumption of who they were aiming at. That is not a good thing, because if we want people to refer us, we better spell out exactly who we're seeking as a customer.
So let's talk about that. How does clarity improve the referrals?
Well, the only way that we can make an intelligent referral is that we know who somebody is looking for and what they're going to do for them. So if all I knew about you was Terry does podcasts, that's all I knew. And I didn't know anything about your business as far as what you do for sales and marketing and cars and this kind of thing. I just knew podcasts. Then I might think, hey, the only thing I could do for Terry is I could send him podcast guests, and I would pick random people that may have absolutely nothing to do with the type of work that you do, the type of podcasting, but I just have this very limited, and it turns out inaccurate, understanding, and so I'm not sending you the right people. On the other hand, if you say 80% of my revenue comes from this kind of customer, and I'm usually talking to the CEO or the director of marketing or whatever, now you've put a portrait in my head of the exact person I need to refer you to. And you got to be that specific, because I can't hold in my head 59 different people to refer you to. Just give me one. Give me the most important one.
Yeah. So who do you want to refer to, and what do you want to say about them? And you break it down. I love this about your training. You break it down into three divisions of who you are. Three different nomenclatures. There's the king of clarity, which is the sound bite, the one word, and then there's a 50 word or 100 word, and you kind of add more detail as you go along. Tell the folks about that.
Well, what I've developed over the time is a format, and everybody knows these words. They're real easy. Who, what, why, how, where, okay? If we can come up with very clear, straightforward sentences that describe exactly what it is that we do, who we do it for, what I call not a target audience, but a bullseye customer, exactly who we do it for. How we do it, what it is that is unique in the way that we do it, where we do it. There may be geographical constraints. There may be certain vertical markets or horizontal markets. And then the why. What is the pain that we solve? What motivates somebody who has money in their wallet to say, I've got to get this pain fixed, and this is the person that can do it? Those 5 elements, and most companies don't articulate it, but we need to, they go into our clarity statements, and every bit of marketing, every bit of sales, everything that we do from that point on comes down to those 5 things.
And you add those, that you put those onto the clarity card?
Yes, I've come up with a format called a clarity card, which has exactly that. What, for whom, why, how, and where. And it's harder work than you might think, coming up with succinct statements. The hard work isn't coming up with verbiage. Anybody can come up with verbiage.
Right.
And I've seen tons of verbiage on websites and elevator speeches and all this nonsense. And a lot of it just is meaningless. But it takes hours of work to actually take all the information in somebody's head and distill it down to concise statements that a layperson can understand. Because most of the people that are going to refer you aren't going to be fellow experts or thought leaders. They're going to be regular people. So we got to put it in phrases that regular people can understand.
Yeah, so you're not even saying, I mean, you talked about the woman who was using language for people who were above her target audience, but it's not only using the language for your target audience, you have to use language that everyone can understand, because your referral audience is larger than your target audience.
Correct. And I mean, the thing with this particular case is this was in a commercial pharmaceutical training sector where I have an actual referral business. I'm a matchmaker of training companies and pharma training organizations. That's one of my little niche markets. So I do professional referrals. And if you don't tell me exactly who you're after, I can't bring you new business. Right. But I have helped a number of these training companies find highly targeted business because we've gone through the clarity process of figuring out what their sweet spot is, what their ideal client looks like, and how to message it.
So let's say you put in the hours, and I've actually done some of this. You put in the hours to try to figure out exactly who you are, exactly who you help, exactly how you help them, and why you help them, and what you do to help them. And you get to who, what, where, why, and you get it all down. And you've got your clarity card, and you've got your clarity statements, and you have your sound bites. What do you do with all that information? How do you get that information into the right hands?
Well, one way to do it, which I do, is with a clarity card. I actually have both a digital version that I can put in an email footer and a print version. So to make it easy to actually make a tangible referral, just forward the clarity card. Here's what it's all about. Mm-hmm. But the other thing I like to do is even condense the clarity card down to a single sentence, and even more effective is if you can get an analogy. An analogy, it has the magic ability to stick in our minds. Mm-hmm. So if I say, Terry Lancaster is the Mercedes of podcasting for marketing, something like that.
Sure.
What I've done is I've latched onto a pre-existing image in somebody's mind, and they have limited capacity to remember. And that has created a sense that, high value, top of the line, and every time they see a Mercedes drive by, they might think of Terry Lancaster. But if I then said, well, Terry is this, and I listed out 25 bullet points,
right?
How much of that are they going to remember? Nobody's going to remember that. So we have to make it so simple to transfer information into people's minds so that they can transfer it to the next person. And that's the challenge of distilling our messages down to the shortest and most succinct and memorable format.
You talked about, we have all these words going around in our mind, and you just talked about then listing off the 25 bullet points. We live in a noisy society, and the world is getting noisier every day. We're bombarded with messages, and the favorite words I've ever heard come out of your mouth, Steve, you say that the competition isn't the competition. The noise is the competition.
Yeah, there's brain science involved in clarity, actually, because we have a limited ability to process information. Our brains can only take in so much, can only process so much, and can only remember so much. And the fact is that we are inundated at this point in this culture with a tremendous amount of noise, and having smartphones and the internet only has just multiplied all that noise. So our brains have this wonderful feature called the reticular activating system, which serves as the filter which lets in or doesn't let in information. And unless it's new and relevant and important and striking and amusing, it doesn't get through. It's just part of the noise. So part of our challenge in positioning ourselves in the minds of people and having a clear message is by making a message that's so succinct and memorable that it gets through the RAS, the reticular activating system, and finds a lodging point. Otherwise, we're just more noise in a world full of noise.
We'll add some more brain science to that. My favorite thing to talk about brain science-wise is confirmation bias, and that's finding that lodging point that's already there, because people see what they're looking for, and they remember what they already know. And so if you can find some way to tie in with something that's already there, that's going to, the Mercedes of Marketing podcast, that ties in with the ideas that they already hold about Mercedes. And it connects you, ties in those neurons. It's just another synapse firing off, tying everything together.
It's the shortcut into memory. And we need to take advantage, because of all the competition, all the noise, we need as many shortcuts as we can to become memorable. That's why I use the term king of clarity, because it's striking, it's kind of amusing, it's tongue-in-cheek, it's memorable, and it's real short.
Oh, come on, Steve. I know you've got a crown in there somewhere. This isn't
there's a crown somewhere, But, and it's against my sort of New England upbringing to be that arrogant sounding, I'm the king of whatever.
Right.
But the fact is that it works. It's memorable. If I just simply said, well, I help marketing people come up with a very nice, memorable brand, blah, 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 I'm just noise at that point.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's talk about the book, Unstuck, 10 Proven Strategies for Breaking Through the Barriers to Small Business Growth. And you have the kickoff chapter. What happened is we had 10 people go in together. We each contributed 10 chapters to the book, and you have the kickoff chapter. Tell us about your contribution to the book and how that came to pass, and some of the information that you provide in there.
Well, as you know, we've built a very interesting community of creative people and marketing people and entrepreneurs here in Nashville. And in getting to know one another and seeing all the different elements of things that we can contribute, it was very clear that this was my major contribution, the whole idea of clarity. And so in that chapter, I explained about the brain science angle and the need for succinctness and why it's important. And one of the most important things that I've developed recently is the idea that what we really want to do is have hashtags. What is really called classically metadata. Metadata is the information you attach to information, so that if you go on Instagram and see this beautiful picture of a waterfall and it's hashtagged Middle Tennessee, Fall Creek Falls, State Park. Mm-hmm. Well, those hashtags explain what that is. And we use hashtags now to help us search and sort and find. So one of the things that clarity is all about is identifying our hashtags. This is what I am. I'm this, and I'm this. And in that respect, doing something that's very counterintuitive to a lot of people, we're pigeonholing ourselves. We're saying, look, here's where I bring the best value. Here are the specific people that have that need, that pain, and that have money. And this is exactly what I do. And not say, look, we do all kinds of things for all kinds of people. Just send me anything. Yeah. We'll work for food.
We'll work for food.
No, there's this counterintuitive thing that the more narrow and clearly defined a niche we have, the more successful we'll be, because people know what the sweet spot is, and we'll get targeted work that we really ought to be doing. That's what the hashtags are all about. And that's what the chapter talks about, is how do you go about this process?
Targeted work and targeted referrals, because again, that's where the honey is when everyone understands what you do, and they can tell other people what you do, and they can tell two friends, and they can tell two friends. And so
that's the point. That's the goal. Everybody knows referrals are the way to grow a business. So if we can activate referrals by making it easier for people to hand off, as you remember, I have this baton.
Oh, yeah.
Already. So the point is, I want to make a message.
That's kind of like a scepter. That's a scepter, Steve.
It is.
I think we should call that the scepter now.
That's my referral-ready scepter. But this represents having such a short message that I can hand it to you, and like a relay race, you remember it and can hand it to the next person. That's activating a referral.
So let's talk about the listeners. Most of the people who watch this show are salespeople and entrepreneurs. Specifically, I have a lot of folks who are in the automotive sales business, have a lot of insurance agents and real estate agents, solo entrepreneurs, not necessarily giant businesses, but people who kill what they eat. If they don't sell today, they don't eat. So they're very interested in getting the referrals, and they need this clarity to feed their families. Mm-hmm. I promise them, if you'll spend 30 minutes a week with me watching the show, you'll learn one action step, one thing that you can do today. As soon as you close the browser, as soon as you put down the phone, here's something that you can do today to start making your life better and to start making your business better. So today we want an action step that provides clarity and immediately. So right. What's one thing we can do?
So I like to encourage folks to get their message down to a single sentence. If you can get down to a single sentence that's based on those 5 elements we talked about before, you're well on your way to clarity. And here is the format of that single sentence. It is, I or we fix this particular business pain. Or in some cases, it's meet this particular felt need or desire. But we fix this business pain for these very specific clients by using this superpower. Mm-hmm. The superpower is whatever it is that's your unique selling proposition, your unique value, your angle, either individually or your company's angle, that makes you differentiated, makes you different from anybody else. And if you can articulate what is the pain, who are the specific clients, write down sometimes to their titles, and what is the differentiator, you're really at the core of having a clear message and of being referral ready, because you can, in a few moments at a networking meeting or just in a casual introduction to somebody or in a sales pitch or whatever, you can take the core of your message and say it like that and get it across. And that becomes the foundation of all your sales and marketing. That sentence becomes your clarity manifesto. So if you can tell me what's the business pain you're fixing, if you can explain to me in terms I understand who those ideal sweet spot clients are, and if you can show me that you've got some particular awesomeness, some power, now I know what to do with you. I know how to refer you. I don't want 20 bullet points. So I would encourage your listeners to take that sentence format and to try to fill that in and to make it as clear and specific as possible, because that's how you're going to differentiate and pigeonhole yourself.
Well, let's get an example, Steve. What's your sentence?
My sentence is, okay, here's the business pain I fix. Every business needs more business, more growth, more sales, and that comes through referrals. So I fix business unreadiness for referrals. For clients, mostly small to mid-sized businesses, by my unique ability to analyze an awful lot of information and pull out the gems and put them in order and wordsmith them into a nice, clear sentence.
Well, there you go. And if someone needed to...
Here's one of the illustrations I use, because I believe in illustrations. I believe in imagery and metaphors. I say it's like dumping out a bunch of M&Ms. When we sit down and do a clarity session, you dump out all the M&Ms. We just get all your thoughts out. And my job is to find all the yellow ones and the orange ones, put them in order, and make it make sense.
Yeah. So you
now, every time you eat M&Ms, you're going to the king of clarity.
Well, first of all, I'm going to go through and pick out all the yellow and orange ones, and then I'm only going to think of you, Steve. You're my and if I ever get to be a Van Halen rock star, it's only yellow and orange M&Ms for me, baby. No more of these green brown ones.
That's
only
right.
Yellow and orange. So how does everyone get in touch with you if they need yellow and orange M&Ms?
My website is stevewoodruff.com, and I can be reached via email at steve@stevewoodruff.com. That's the easiest way. And I'm very active on social platforms, so all you have to do to find me on LinkedIn or anywhere else, just Google Steve Woodruff. There used to be a police killer in California that occupied the top of Google searches, whose name was Steve Woodruff. I pushed him off years ago.
There you go.
If you Google Steve Woodruff, you'll pretty much find him.
Google Steve Woodruff. And of course, the book is available on Amazon, Unstuck, 10 Proven Strategies for Breaking Through the Barriers to Small Business Growth. Steve, you are awesome as always. I appreciate your time and your talent and your particular awesomeness. Thanks for being on the show.
Thanks so much, Terry.
All right, man. I appreciate you. We'll see you next time.
All right. Bye-bye.
Being the boss is fun. Taking your ideas, turning them into something new, and watching it grow. Oh, it's a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun, until it's not. Most businesses reach a point where good ideas, common sense, and hard work just aren't enough anymore. They get stuck. Now, it's time to get unstuck. Unstuck 10 Proven Strategies for Breaking Through the Barriers to Small Business Growth. Get your copy today and get unstuck.
Get You Some Radio. You've been listening to the Get You Some Radio Show. Subscribe today at terrylancaster.tv to hear more episodes, win valuable cash and prizes, and get free training to help you create an army of buyers who know, like, and trust you before they've ever even met you. It's a big, wide world, boys and girls. Get out there. and get you some.